Hey guys and gals, it's Matt here with Peppercoat BBQ, and thanks again for tuning in and watching another episode here of Peppercoat BBQ and just hanging out with me on the Peppercoat deck. Today I'm going to be doing one of my favorites. I'm going to show you how I make dry ribs. They're going to be juicy, they're going to be tender, they're going to be succulent, but they're going to be dry. So we're not going to sauce them at the end. I'm going to light up the Old Country BBQ Pits Smokehouse, and we're going to get to cooking. Basically, the main thing that I do to prep ribs is two things. One on the back, and this is up to you. You can do what you want to do. But one thing that I always do, and there's probably a technical name for this, I call it blood milking. I don't know if that's right or not, but there's a vein that runs along these bones. And so I will typically take my finger and run across here, and maybe you can see that come out. Yeah, you can see that. I like to get all of this out that I can. There's a good one. I like to remove the membrane on the back of these ribs, and that's completely optional. It's up to you. But with these ribs, it's almost like the membrane is already gone. In the places it is not, it is so thin, it's almost non-existent. I have never bought a rack of ribs that looked quite like this when I got them out of the pack. Usually that membrane's always there and it's intact. So I'm going to scrape off or pull off what little bit is left here, and then we'll get them seasoned. I have these trimmed up now the way that I want them, and today I'm using Uncle Dave's Spices and Rubs, his sweet rub. This is brand new to Uncle Dave's line, and I'm excited to give it a try. This has some salt and brown sugar in it. So I'm going to put this on the ribs. I'm going to put a nice coating on here. Remember, we're not doing any sauce afterwards, but I want to put this on here, let it sit here on the counter for about an hour while we get the smoker started up. My goal today is to be between 225 and 250 on this cook, and I just want to show you what I've done over the last 45 minutes since we put the seasoning on the ribs. Just like usual, I started this off with some lump oak, and I have a big cherry split that I've thrown in there on top of that. I have another cherry split over here to the side. And I'm going to be using mostly cherry today, especially while this cook's just starting off, just to get that flavor on the ribs. You can see here on our bottom rack, we're running right at 250, and then here on the top rack also right at 250. You can see that the smoke is nice, clear, transparent blue that's coming through. But you can also see there's a lot of smoke, a lot of airflow in this chamber. So I'm going to go ahead and close down one of our stacks. And then our intake, I'm going to watch it for just a few minutes. I may close it down. I am running the water pan today. And so with the water pan, it does take a little more wood to maintain the temperatures. And if you watch the video from last week, you'll see that fire management when using the water pan and running at a lower temperature like we are today is very different than it was when we were smoking the wings last week. And I'll put a link to that video at the end. It's been right at an hour. The temperatures are stabilized now with that one stack open, left the vent all the way open on the bottom of the intake. And top rack is, looks like we're about 230, and then the bottom rack 250. We're going to go ahead and throw our ribs on. See, these have started to sweat out nicely. I'm going to run those bone side down, and we'll come back in about 30 to 45 minutes and check on these. We want to make sure that we continue to spritz these today. It's really important when you are making a dry rib that you control the amount of air that's flowing through the chamber and try to keep as much moisture in there as you can. That's why we're using the water pan today. That's why I closed down one vent up there at the top to reduce that airflow just a little bit, because one of the easiest ways to keep moisture in that rib is to keep moisture inside the chamber. And then also we're going to be checking it probably every 30 to 45 minutes and spritzing it so it's not going to get too dry. Even with just one stack open, there is a massive amount of air moving through this pit. You can see that transparent smoke that's just rolling out of there. Also does a number on your lights that are hanging right above it. We've been on for 45 minutes. I did have to stoke the fire a little bit. I put another small oak split, a little piece of pecan here under that large cherry split. Keep it going. But you can see it's taken off very well. Our ribs are looking good. We're going to go ahead and give them a spritz. You can use whatever you want to spritz, but today I'm going to use apple cider vinegar that already has honey added in. Ribs have been on for an hour and a half. It's been 45 minutes since we spritzed last time. See a nice clean smoke. We're holding steady here on the top, just below 250. And again, on the bottom, just below, well, right at 250. So we're holding a good temperature. I'm going to go ahead and check on our splits. I think by now, yeah, we're getting burnt down. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this other split on. And the rims still don't have a lot of color on them yet. I'm going to go ahead and spritz them again. Bark's drying out. It's been another 45 minutes, 2 hours, 15 minutes total since we placed these ribs onto the smoker. It's holding steady, 225 top rack, about 235 on the bottom rack. Nice clean smoke coming out. We're going to go ahead and open this up, spritz again, see if we need to add any water to the water pan, maybe add another split. We're getting some nice red color on these now. That is looking really good. Starting to turn up just a little bit on the ends. We can go ahead and give them another spritz. And you can see that our fire is just about going. I'm going to throw an oak split in there, and I'm going to go ahead and put a smaller one up here. Hopefully it'll catch. So anytime you're using the water pan with this smoker, again, it just takes a lot more splits. You're going to mind the fire a little bit more. You got to burn it a little hotter. Even though we're running at lower temperatures, you still have to add more splits because it takes more energy to heat the water that is inside of that pit. So here's another reason that it's good to build up a good coal bed in there and have a nice fire management basket. So, you know, our fire had burned out. It was really low. I had nothing left but coals. We still had plenty of residual heat in the pit. But as soon as I threw these logs on there, they took right back off. All right, we're at the 3-hour mark. These ribs are looking great. Man, that has a beautiful color on it. Nice red mahogany. I really think that cherry wood helps to give it a color, along with that honey and the brown sugar that was in Uncle Dave's sweet rub. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull these off. I'm not really cooking the temperature today, but just to let you know where we're at, that's up to 183, 184. Now, I'm not going with a 3-2-1 method because that's going to make them a little dry. To me, 3-2-1, it works well if you want that fall off the bone rib, but sometimes you get too dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap these in butcher paper. And if you see right here, I have some bacon grease that I had in the fridge. I've set it out here so that it can warm up. I'm going to put some bacon grease on them, put them in butcher paper, and throw them back in here. And look, some of you's going to say, man, that's disgusting. Why would you put bacon grease on ribs? Look, I see guys do this with beef tallow. They put butter in a wrap when they wrap ribs. So I'm just using bacon grease. Bacon grease already came from the pig, and we're just using this to put a little bit of moisture and a little fat content back into these ribs. I'm putting these back in here with the meat side up. Again, we're not trying to braise these like you would if you were doing a 3-2-1 method. We're just trying to get them a little more tender and retain some moisture in our bark. We just put our ribs back in the wrap. Like I said, probably 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and a half or something. We'll just keep a watch on them. I'm going to go ahead and put another split in here. This is an oak split that I had over to the side. And I got a pretty good coal bed in there, so that should light pretty quick. So these ribs have been on here for another hour and a half. I did check them after an hour, and they were still a little bit tight. I'm going to check them now and see. Oh, yeah. See, that's breaking in the middle there. And I'm just going to put these in the microwave and let them rest for about 30 to 45 minutes. You could use a cooler, but I'm just going to set them up here for now. It's been a long 30 minutes. I'm telling you, these things smell so good. Let's get them out and see what we got. Ribs look delicious. I put them on a butcher block here, and we're going to cut them. Look at that. That's cutting through nice, just like butter. See our nice pink smoke ring? You can see all the juices that's still in here. If you squeeze that. So here we go, dry rub rib. And again, just because it's a dry rib doesn't mean that it has to be dry on the inside. You can see there's a lot of moisture left in here. Total cook time on this rib, 3 hours unwrapped and about an hour and a half wrapped. And Bailey's getting hungry. She's saying, shut up and eat that rib. So let's give it a try. Man, that is really, really good. Bailey, sit. Sit. Are you impatient? You want your ribs? I really like this Uncle Dave's sweet rub on this rib. I like it just the way it is with no sauce. This is a great rib. It's not overpowering. I can really taste the smoke that is in there. That cherry wood just gives it a great flavor. Got a great color on it. If you've never tried ribs this way, then I would suggest that you give it a try. Leave the sauce off. Hey, if you want it messier, you want the sauce, then you can dip it in sauce later. But give Uncle Dave a try. I'm going to link him in the description below. Also, I'll put a link to ThermoPro. You can check them out. At the time of filming this, use the discount code. You can get 10 to 15% off ThermoPro products. And listen, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, then like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'll see you next time on Peppercoat BBQ.